My job is to watch the Forsyth Night Forest holds many mysteries, and it seems the time has come for me to face them personally. I'm going to tell you in excruciating detail what happened to me during my strange job. I found a bizarre and chilling set of rules on my lookout tower that the guard must follow. A little backstory: after my divorce, I had nothing left. I wanted a fresh start, so I moved into a cheap, rundown apartment in a new town. I had no steady job, no pets, no kids, and obviously no wife. I was just existing. I was constantly on the hunt for any job, and eventually found a crap job at a roadside diner. I was bored and miserable. Even though I had just moved, I desperately needed a more radical change in my life. Then I hit the jackpot. Among all the RSMs I'd sent to different places, there was one for a forest fire lookout position. No prior experience was required, by the way. Forest fire lookouts are people who live in isolation in a tall tower in the middle of the woods, watching for smoke or fires. When they spot a fire, they either put it out themselves or call for backup, depending on the situation. Even with all the applications I sent out, I remember filling out this one specifically because the ad seemed a bit strange. It said there were no open positions at the moment, but they were accepting applications in case someone quit. I remember thinking, that's weird. Why would they assume someone might quit? Still, I went for it, hoping that maybe I would finally have a real, serious job. Soon after, I got a call from a guy named Mark. He was a little gruff, and only told me how much I'd be making and that I'd have to live on the tower until the end of summer, about 2 months. He also said I had to start immediately after a preliminary briefing and getting my instructions. I didn't think twice and told him I'd be ready to start the next day. Night 1, I arrived on site and parked my car as far as it could go, leaving me with a long walk to the tower. It was only a.m., and Mark told me the hike would take about 4 hours, so I figured I'd be there by noon. Mark assured me my new home on the tower would have a full stock of food, and that I could use the radio to contact the nearest neighboring tower for instructions. The summer morning was cool, but I was excited for the hike itself, as the woods in these parts are known for their incredible beauty and peaceful atmosphere, which I'd been craving lately. I just got to the tower. It's p.m. The hike was tough, but the trail was well marked and easy to follow. The tower is much bigger than I imagined, about 160 feet high, with the cabin on top, sitting on 4 stilts, with a winding staircase leading up. Next to the tower is an outhouse and a supply shed where I assume the food and water are stored. I'll check all that out later, once I get to the cabin and drop off my gear. The staircase was a nightmare, old and creaky, but I hope I'll get used to it. The cabin is small, with a bed, a large radio station that looks like a military radio, a map, some books, a toolbox, a small portable radio, a lantern, binoculars, and a flashlight. There are large windows on all sides of the cabin, so I could see the endless forest around me. It's creepy, but makes sense since I'm watching for fires. I put down my backpack and remembered what Mark said about contacting the nearest tower. I turned on the big radio and said, "Hello, is anyone there? I hear you, hello. You must be the new lookout, right? I'm Sarah," a woman's cheerful voice chirped back. "I've been watching your part of the woods, but it's hard to cover such a huge area, so I'm glad you're finally here. Nice to meet you. Yes, I'm the new lookout. My name is Alex," I replied. "Mark said you would fill me in on my duties and answer any questions." "I have, right?" "That's right. Well, you already figured out the radio, so that's a start. The outhouse is at the base of the tower, and supplies are restocked every week by Mark or his son. As for the job itself, you need to look around a lot and make sure no one is hiking at night. Some thrill seekers camp out and wander the woods after dark, but no one should be in the woods after dark, and most importantly, no campfires are allowed." Sarah continued, "All of this is in the manual on your desk. Read it over." "Thanks, Sarah. I'll do that and get back to you," I enthusiastically replied. "I'll call you on the radio if I have any questions." But she didn't reply. I opened the manual and quickly flipped through it. It mostly said everything she just told me, just in more technical terms. As I was flipping, a sheet of paper fell out. It was a handwritten note in blue ink. The handwriting was shaky, and the text seemed insane. Here's what it said. Rules on how to avoid the smiling woman. If you see a woman in the woods with a maniacal smile, do not approach her or draw attention to yourself. Return to your tower. If the radio turns on and you hear a voice that isn't the other lookout, do not answer. No matter what you hear. If you hear a woman crying somewhere nearby between a M and a M, ignore it. A T night. Always sleep with your lantern on. If it starts to flicker rapidly, quickly turn on the main light. And don't turn it off until morning. If your lantern goes out completely before you can do this, hide under the bed until dawn. If you hear someone running up the stairs of your tower at night, immediately turn on the main light. If you don't do so by the time she's at the top, it will be too late. If you wake up and see a creepy, smiling woman looking at you through the window, hide under the covers and hold your breath. She will enter your cabin, and you'll feel her breathing next to you, as if she's looming over you. Do not breathe. This will only last a few seconds. Once you feel her leave, turn on the main light immediately. If you hear any scratching sounds, anywhere, whether in your cabin or the outhouse below, turn off the radio, lights, and hide under the covers until the scratching stops. If you find a campfire at night and, upon approaching it, hear a woman screaming, run back to the tower as fast as you can. If you ever return to your tower and realize someone is inside, run. Do not stop until you get to the neighboring lookout. Do not look back, she will be chasing you. What the hell? This must be some kind of sick joke. I reached for the radio to ask Sarah about the crazy rules I just found, but I didn't want to be the new guy who got pranked and got laughed at for being scared and believing it. So I decided to just let it go. Instead, I explored the area a bit, had a meal, and then unpacked my things. Good night, Sarah's voice said unexpectedly. I jumped and quickly answered on the radio. Good night. Thanks for your help today. Sarah didn't reply. My first day was over. After eating, I explored the woods and got to know the machete used for clearing trails, which was a great stress reliever. I also read up on some forest laws and my further duties. Sarah would check in from time to make sure I was okay, but I never mentioned the strange rules. However, I just woke up startled by Sarah's goodnight message. I got out of bed and looked around, seeing nothing but darkness and the trees, barely visible in the moonlight. It was dark and spooky, but the darkness was important for my job, since fire is much easier to spot at night. I knew there were other lookouts besides me, and I had a tough day, so I decided to get some rest. I was just about to get back into bed when I heard a scratching sound. That's weird, I thought, but it's probably just some animal. I jumped into bed, exhausted after my first day. I was about to reach down to turn off the lantern when the scratching got faster and louder. I pulled my hand back from the switch, and the scratching slowed down. It's very strange. But what's even stranger is that the scratching seems almost methodical. It has a rhythm. Suddenly, the radio station started making a loud, static sound. What the hell is that? I jumped out of bed, hitting the shelf, and quickly turned it off. As I did, I caught a glimpse of the rules list I had read earlier. There was something about scratching, wasn't there? I thought. Rule 7. If you hear any scratching anywhere, whether in the cabin or the outhouse, turn off the radio and hide under the covers until the scratching stops. I quickly jumped under the covers. I could still hear the scratching, but it sounded closer. It had been coming from somewhere below, but now, it sounded like someone was scratching at the front door. Then the sound got quieter. I lay motionless, shaking with terror. What the hell was going on? It was morning when I finally fell asleep. The scratching stopped, but I didn't move or peek out from under the covers. In the end, exhaustion took over. Looking back, I feel a little silly. I'm in the woods, there are tons of animals active at night, and the radio can easily pick up some strange frequencies. I was probably just freaking myself out. These were unfounded fears. In any case, my first night was the hardest, trying to adjust to life 160 feet up, alone in the middle of nowhere. I need to get used to it. That's a fact. Night 2, going to make the most of my time today before nightfall. I hope the rest of the nights are less eventful. I can't stop thinking about that scratching sound from last night. What was it? It must have been an animal, right? Damn, I hope it was an animal. I'm trying not to think about the list, but believe me, it's hard. I took the rules list with me, just in case, even though I feel a little dumb about it. I'm sure it's just a prank. It's only my second day, and I'm already being messed with. Anyway, I'm currently on patrol, just walking some of the routes and trails, making sure no one is camping out. It's getting dark, so I think I should head back. I'm just about to do a final check and get on the trail that leads back to my tower when I catch a glimpse of a tent. Well, here's my first real task, I thought. I need to tell these tourists that they have to pack up and leave the woods. This area is only for day hiking. I walk further. The campsite is in a large clearing among the trees. There's only one reddish-yellow tent and a pit with a cold campfire. Hello? Anyone here? I yell. You can't camp here. This area is for day hiking only. No answer. I walk closer to the campsite and stop at the fire pit, just in case something jumps out of the tent. Yes, given everything that's happened lately, I'm afraid of everything. I say again, hey, hello, I'm the forest lookout. My name is Alex. Still silent. Now, starting to feel very strange. Something about this place was off. I can't explain it, just a creepy and inexplicable feeling of fear. I'm sure whoever is camping here is just walking around and will be back. But it's almost dark, which makes me even more nervous. Wait, there was a rule about this, I thought. I pulled the list out of my pocket and quickly read through it. Of course, Rule 8. If you find a campfire at night and, upon approaching it, hear a woman screaming, run back to the tower as fast as you can. Okay, I get it, but I didn't hear a scream, I thought. It's just an empty camp, and the fire is out. It's not even warm, so no one has been here for a while. I decided to contact Sarah on my small portable radio. Sarah, hey, listen, came across someone's camp. There's no fire, well, there is, but it's out. There are no people here either. I've tried calling out, but no one answers. What should I do? Where are you? Sarah instantly replied. I took the map out of my backpack, lit it with my flashlight, and told her the coordinates of the place. I see. That's almost on the border of my zone. I'll go there now. You just go back to your tower, okay? Sarah replied. You sure you don't need any help? I asked. Yes, I'm sure. I'll be fine. Get back and be careful, alright? Okay, on it. I decided I'd contact her later when I got back to ask how she was doing. I had been walking for about 30 minutes toward my tower when I saw a fresh trail. That's strange, I thought. I don't remember seeing it on the map. I thought the trail I was on was straight and didn't have any offshoots. Thinking I just hadn't noticed it that morning, I continued on my way, planning to check the map again. Later, back at my tower, I sat at my desk, staring at those damn rules. I still hadn't asked Sarah about them, and I didn't want to unless something even stranger happened tonight. Tonight was uneventful. I just found an empty camp and didn't hear a woman scream, so everything was fine. I had been in the cabin for about 20 minutes when Sarah got on the radio. Alex, listen, I'm at the camp, and the guy says he was gone for a while and didn't know he wasn't allowed to camp here, Sarah explained. We're going to his car now. He'll pack his things and leave. I'm fine. Got it, Sarah. Thanks for handling that for me. Good night, I replied. I felt bad because she went there herself. It was my section and my problem, but I was just lying here in bed, about to go to sleep. I hope she's not mad at my helplessness. The next day, the night was calm, with no problems. I felt safer than before. I left the list on the table today. I spent the morning in a good mood, eating a lot. My appetite seems to be growing because of all this hiking. Then I stood for a long time, looking at the forest from my cabin. It's a very calming sight. It's time for my nightly patrol to make sure no one is camping out. But first, I want to check that strange trail. I looked at the map this morning, and I was right, it's not on it. I got to it pretty quickly since it's relatively close. The trails on our routes need to be constantly maintained and have overhanging branches cut back, Otherwise, they just grow over and become hard to walk. But that new trail was fresh, as if it had been cut recently. This is a mystery. I'm walking down the trail now. It goes slightly uphill, but it's not too difficult. I walked for about 5 minutes and then saw the end of the trail. The trees and bushes beyond it were completely overgrown. This is insane, I thought. I was about to turn back when I saw a small red bandana tied around the branch of a nearby tree. Interesting, I thought. I walked up to it, and as I tried to untie it, I saw another one a little deeper in the woods, and behind that, another one. I found 5 bandanas, all red, with no writing or anything on them. I was about to go for another one. The difference was, this one was on the ground. All the others were on branches. I looked around and didn't see anything else. It's a little frustrating. I sighed and bent down to pick it up and see what the hell it was. It was tied to something, wooden and heavy. I tried to lift it and realized I was opening a wooden hatch to some kind of bunker. Whoa, this is cool as hell, I thought. It was about 50 feet deep and just as wide. There was even a ladder. I turned on my flashlight and saw a sleeping bag and a video camera at the bottom. I went down the ladder. It's pretty sturdy, and it feels like it was made recently. In fact, the whole bunker seems pretty clean for an underground bunker. Usually, they're full of mold, dust, and old stuff. But here, it's just a sleeping bag and a camera with a charger plugged into it, but obviously, not a wall outlet. I picked up the camera and tried to turn it on, but it wouldn't. It's a relatively modern camera, with a screen on the side for viewing images, which looks pretty good, except for a small scratch. The main lens of the camera was broken. It looks like its filming days are over. I'll charge it later when I get back to the tower. I'm excited about this find and am dying of curiosity to see what's recorded on it. I need to tell Sarah about this on the radio, but only when I get back. Otherwise, she'll know I'm not on my patrol. I'm walking back now. Damn it, you won't believe what I see. The same tent is standing in the same spot where the camp was last night. The guy must have come back, or Sarah didn't take him to his car. She did, though. He must have returned, thinking he could sneak back unnoticed. Okay, I'm looking there now, and I see the same reddish-yellow tent. The only difference is that this time there's a lit campfire, which is the only source of light besides my flashlight. It was already dark by this point. Annoyed, I decided I'd handle this guy myself, and then give Sarah the good news that I took care of it. I walk up to the tent and open the entrance without warning. I don't care if I scare him. He shouldn't be here, and he knows it. I look inside, and there's no one there. I mean, nothing. No person, no sleeping bag, no backpack, just emptiness. Behind me, the fire is burning brightly. I turn to it, scanning the trees behind its fiery glow. It's a creepy feeling that someone is watching me. I quickly kick the burning logs aside and pour the rest of my drinking water on it to put it out. I'm instantly plunged into total darkness. The fire is out, and I'm holding my flashlight aimed at the ground because I can't look at the trees behind the fire. I still feel uneasy. Suddenly, a terrifying scream from behind the trees cuts through the silence. Holy hell, it was a scream I could never have imagined, even in my worst nightmare. It was a scream of pure pain, pure rage. A dark figure bursts out of the bushes, screaming all the while, and starts running toward me. I only catch a glimpse of its silhouette before I turn to run, but I noticed the figure was a woman with long hair and arms that just flailed from side to side as she charged at me. I'm running through the woods, which I barely know, trying not to get lost. I think I'm running toward my tower. My thoughts take a sharp turn. I'm starting to scream myself. I can't even hear myself over her wails. I'm halfway to the tower, and I look back. Damn it, I can't get away from her. What the hell is this? The scream gets louder. She's almost on me. How the hell can she still scream and run so fast? The tower. I see the faint glow of the lamp I left on in the cabin. There's hope. If I can get up there in time. I'm running up the stairs at full speed. The winding staircase is uneven, so I stumble every few steps, but I don't lose my balance. Halfway up, I hear her reach the first steps. She's so fast, I can hear it, but I think I can make it. I'm at the top. I run into my cabin, and as I slam the door shut, the screaming suddenly stops. I pressed myself against the door, barely holding myself back from soiling my pants in terror. I'm holding my flashlight like a weapon, ready for a fight. The sudden silence doesn't help me calm down. At least when she was screaming, I knew where she was. Now I don't. My ears are still ringing. I'm holding it together, but I'm still shaking. An hour has passed since the screaming stopped, and I haven't heard a sound. My adrenaline has returned to normal, but I'm still terrified, and it feels like every hair on my body is standing on end. My pants are dry, thankfully. I finally decide to move away from the door and call Sarah. I couldn't speak earlier because of the fear. If this is a prank, the prankster is dead to me, but I'd rather it be a prank. It would calm me down. I turn on the radio. Sarah, I say, out of breath. Sarah, please answer. Silence. It felt like an hour, but it was only about 30 seconds. Suddenly, I hear a raspy moan. You're not Sarah, are you? Who the hell is this? Answer me. It was clearly a woman's voice, groaning in pain. What if that scary thing that was chasing me was with Sarah right now? Just as I was about to try calling her again, something else came through the radio. It was another moan, only louder, and then it turned into a scream. It was that same damn scream, the same one that would now haunt my dreams, filling them with pain and rage. She was screaming through the radio. I threw the handset down and fell onto the bed, covering my ears with a pillow. Good morning, Alex. How'd you sleep? The next morning, Sarah's voice came through the radio handset lying on the floor. Sarah, I can't take this anymore, I said, exhausted from lack of sleep and the terror of the night before. Tell me about that damn list of rules I found on my desk. What list, Alex? Sarah replied. I didn't hesitate. I told her everything that had happened to me so far, how I came across the list, how I first heard the terrifying scratching sounds that drove me crazy, and how a crazy, demonic woman had chased me through the woods last night. Sarah took a deep breath and replied, it makes sense now. You know, Alex, this has happened before. In fact, it happens to every new lookout they assign to that tower. I didn't know what to believe anymore. I thought maybe people were just going crazy from the isolation. I've personally never seen anything like it. But after Harvey, Sarah, who's Harvey? I asked, cutting her off. He's the lookout who worked before you. He lived in your tower for over a year and never went home, Sarah continued. He was a sturdy guy with a knack for fixing things. He was a good person, and I never noticed anything strange about him, except that he wasn't very talkative. I wouldn't hear from him for 2 or 3 days at a time, but he'd always contact me on the radio and say he was okay, and then he'd disappear again. One time, near the end, he didn't check in for a whole week, and I assume he spent all those days and nights outside the tower, although I honestly have no idea where he was. What do you mean, near the end? I asked. I mean, he just disappeared. Mark thinks he got tired and quit. His tower was empty when he checked it. No bags, no clothes, no Harvey. It's all very strange. He lived here for so long and adamantly refused to leave the woods, and then he just up and leaves without telling anyone. I find it hard to believe, Sarah continued, but a few months before he disappeared, he became obsessed with a crazy woman. He claimed to see her often at night, but would never give me details. If I started to ask anything, he would just stop talking. Like I said, he didn't talk to me much. When I applied for the job, the ad said there were no open positions, but they were accepting applications in case someone quit. So they knew the position would be open soon? I thought. I have no idea why they wrote that in the ad, Sarah replied. I've been working here for 2 years, but don't know much besides my duties. And who worked here before Harvey? I asked, after thinking for a moment. Another guy. His name was Rick, Sarah said. He left a few days after I started working here. One day, he asked me if I had ever met a woman in the woods. A woman who smiles. I said no. Is there anyone else living out here besides us? He asked. He looked at me with a very strange expression, but didn't say anything else and just left. I thought he was either a weird guy or had gone crazy from living in the woods. To be honest, I wasn't satisfied with the amount of information I got. I didn't know if she really didn't know much about all this, or if she was hiding something, so I decided to get to know her better. "Sarah, what made you get this job?" I asked. "Well, guess we're spilling all our secrets this morning, aren't we?" Sarah chuckled nervously. I didn't give her a chance to avoid the question, and she replied, "Alex, my sister went missing. She disappeared in these woods," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "It happened right before I got this job. I took this job, I don't know, to try to find her or to try to help others who might get lost. I don't know. I'm so sorry about your sister, really. I'm sorry if I upset you and reminded you of that tragedy." "I didn't mean to," I said. I wasn't going to ask her any more questions. I still wasn't sure if she was hiding something from me, but we had a friendly relationship now, and I wanted it to stay that way. I didn't want to become her enemy and have a fight with her, so I decided to drop the painful subject. I thanked her for talking to me. I believe her, partly, or rather, I want to believe her. I don't know why, but after that conversation, I felt a little more at ease. So, it turns out that Harvey just disappeared, and both he and Rick had possibly seen the smiling woman. This was obviously the creature that had chased me last night. I didn't want to believe all this nonsense, but I still got goosebumps when I remembered that terrible scream and how I ran trying to get away from her. Yesterday, I lay in bed all day until the evening and didn't even sleep. I just tried to make sense of all the information Sarah had shared with me. Maybe the camera I found would give me some answers. The camera was now charged. I turned it on, and 3 options appeared on the screen: photo gallery, settings, and help. I chose gallery. There were a few photos of a lake, a house, a car, nothing that would help me. As I flipped through them quickly, I accidentally noticed an image of a tower. It was my tower, with a family of 3 at its base. The father had dark, long hair, and looked like he hadn't had a haircut in 5 years. He was a big, strong guy. The mother was a blonde with a beautiful smile, and her hand was on her husband's shoulder. The third person in the photo was a boy, with short, brown hair and a striking resemblance to his father. I continued to look through the photos, but didn't see the family together again. The man had taken selfies inside the tower, photos of the view from the window, the outhouse, and some trails. This must be either Harvey or Rick. If it was Harvey, it makes sense why he would want to leave the woods. He had a wife and son. But Sarah never told me that either of them had a family. Everything is getting more and more confusing. Then the photos became even more mysterious. The next photo was clearly the bunker, the one I found nearby, dug into the ground, with the sleeping bag and the camera. But in the photo, it looks unfinished, like it was still under construction. The person who had this camera must have built it. Sarah said Harvey was a normal guy, and she didn't notice anything strange about him. Then why the hell would he build a bunker in the woods, and so close to the tower? To me, all the strangeness is right there. Okay, more on that later, I thought. The next photo was of a tree, barely visible in the dark. Then 4 or 5 more photos of the same tree. At the base of the tree was a strange, distorted shadow. Was Harvey or someone else trying to photograph something? And that something was the crazy woman. Suddenly, heard crying from below. "What time is it now? It's a.m. What the hell is going on?" It was a woman crying. It didn't sound too close, but I sat on my bed and listened to the drawn-out wails. I remembered Rule 3. If you hear a woman crying between a m and the m, ignore it. I can't sit still and just listen to it. The crying sounds so pitiful and genuine. I really want to go and help. As quietly as I could, I put on my gear, grabbed my flashlight, radio, and opened the door to my cabin. I carefully went down the stairs, lighting the way in front of me so I wouldn't trip. The crying was coming from deeper in the woods. That's why I was carefully making my way from bush to bush, from tree to tree. I don't know how to describe the crying, but it can only be compared to the sobbing of a mother who has lost her child and is crying in utter despair. My flashlight was off as the crying got louder. I crouched down, carefully moving from bush to bush, from tree to tree. The air was very foggy and cool, and it was getting even colder the closer I got. When I peeked out from behind a tree, I saw her. She was sitting by a tree with her face covered by her hands and crying. She was close to me. She had dark hair, very dirty and wet, though I couldn't see it too clearly. But she was wearing a dress that seemed clean and undamaged. Her hands, oh God, they were twisted or broken. I don't know. Her pale white skin was literally glowing in the dark. My radio. I quickly lowered my head to turn it off, and the crying stopped. I'm still looking at my radio. Damn it. She heard me. I can't look up. I feel sick. I force myself to raise my head and slowly look at her. She's looking at me. She has hollow, dark, wide eyes. They look lifeless. Her eyebrows are raised, and she's smiling. Her smile is unnaturally wide across her entire face, even wider than it should be. Maybe there were tear streaks on her face. They were still running down her sharp cheekbones and thin neck. This is insane. I thought, I need to run. I can't take my eyes off her, but I'm trying to convince myself to run. Damn it, I need to run. I look at her for about 30 seconds, and she doesn't move. Her eyes are still staring at me, and her smile is sinister. Just as I'm about to get the courage to turn my back on her and run, a branch under my feet breaks. I look down, then back at her, but she's gone. This is my chance. I turn around and run, looking back. I'm dodging trees, stumbling but not falling. Where could she have disappeared to so quickly? My tower is close now. I run up the stairs, burst into my cabin, and slam the door. I look out the window, and there's no one down there. Damn it. I jump on the bed, turn on my lantern, and cover myself with the blanket. I'm trying to calm down and catch my breath so I can hear any strange noises. Everything is silent. I peek out from under the blanket, mustering the courage to contact Sarah on the radio, and immediately notice dirty footprints on the floor of my cabin. They're from bare feet, and I'm wearing shoes. The footprints go from the door, across the whole room, to my bed. It's then that I begin to understand why I didn't see her when I looked out the window. She was already inside the cabin with me. I'm shaking so hard I can't move. Assuming she's under my bed right now, I'm freezing. I know she's there. I can feel it. She's under my bed. I thought about the rules. Did they say anything about this? There are 2 rules that could apply, but I don't know which one to follow. Rule 6. If you wake up and see the smiling woman looking at you through the window, hide under the covers and hold your breath. She will enter your cabin, and you'll feel her breathing right above you. Do not breathe. This will only last a few seconds. Once you feel her leave, turn on the light, and don't turn it off until morning. Or Rule 9. If you ever return to your tower and notice someone is inside, just run. Don't stop until you reach the neighboring tower. Don't look back because she's probably chasing you. Should I hide under the covers until she leaves, or should I run because she's in my tower, as per Rule 9? I'm in a panic. A second later, there's a small crackling sound, like someone is cracking their knuckles. God, it must be her hands moving and making that noise. And after that, I hear a low, choking moan. I close my eyes. I have to make a decision. Continue to hide or run. Rule 6 or Rule 9. I'm in a panic. I feel a slight tug on the bottom of my blanket. It's not a hard tug and only lasts a second. After that, the blanket is pulled again, a little harder than last time. I choose Rule 9. I jump up from the bed and run out the door, which slams shut behind me with a loud bang. I don't see her because I don't look back. I'm already running, and I'm halfway down the tower stairs. I hear a crash above me. The door slammed again. She must have left the cabin. I'm at the bottom of my tower now. She's catching up to me. She's halfway to the bunker, and I quickly open it with difficulty. I go down the ladder, making sure to close the hatch. I can hear her. She's walking around on top of the hatch, rustling the grass, probably in circles. Her low moans make me freeze. The hair on my body stands on end when she screams in pain. I'm in the corner of the bunker, looking at the hatch through the darkness. I can't see anything. She's still outside. I can hear her movements. Maybe she didn't see me go down into the bunker. Maybe she doesn't even know it exists. Or maybe she can't get in. This must be where Harvey spent the nights when he wasn't At the tower, Sarah said she didn't know where he spent those last few nights. Maybe she was talking about this place. I don't know, I can only guess. Now I don't hear anything. About 20 minutes have passed. I think the creature above me has left, but I've had enough. I won't be an idiot again. I'm staying here until morning. I eventually fell asleep and woke up in the morning to the sound of wind and birds singing outside the bunker. The memories of last night still terrify me. Looking back at my decision to find out what was happening to me, I feel stupid. I'm not sure if it was because of the lack of sleep or because she had cast some spell on me, but I'm not making those decisions anymore. I'm going to stick to the rules. It's morning, and I'm still in the bunker. I finally got the courage to open the hatch and look outside. I'm blinded by the sunlight after spending so long in the darkness. Everything is fine. No one is around. Carefully, without making any sudden movements, I get out and head toward my tower. I start to go up the stairs quickly when I hear a voice behind me. Hey, hello. I almost jumped out of my skin, turning around and almost falling off the stairs. At the base of my tower stands a girl, a normal, ordinary girl, with brown hair, glasses, and a large backpack on her back. She's dressed in hiking gear and smiling at me. Sorry I scared you. Hi, I'm Samantha, Mark's daughter. I'm here to restock some supplies, she explained. I'm still staring at her, my heart about to burst out of my chest. Oh. Hi, I say, my voice trembling. Yeah, you really scared me. I'm Alex, I know. Hi again, and I'm sorry again, she says, still smiling. Are you okay? I manage a weak smile and nod. I just got a little startled, that's all. I thought it was Mark or his son who usually comes here for this. She laughs. That's usually the case. I just started helping them recently. You're actually my first stop today. We have to do the others later. Nice to meet you, Samantha. It's getting dark, and I feel a determination to find out what's going on in these woods. Don't get me wrong, I'm scared to death, but I made the wrong choice. As far as I know, I'm on my own here. I don't know who to trust. Maybe Sarah, though she apparently isn't telling me everything either. But my choice of who to trust and who not to is small. Right before going to bed, I contact her to ask her the question that's been on my mind. Hey, Sarah, I say. Does Mark have a daughter? Hey, Alex, Sarah replies a minute later. I was just about to wish you a good night. I don't know. I've only met his son. Why? Oh, no reason. I was just curious. Are you okay, Alex? Did something happen? She asks. I'm fine. Just a little tired. I can't talk anymore. Good night. I'm still terrified, but I know what I have to do. These rules are my lifeline. They will ensure my survival, so I must follow them without thinking. Now, more than ever, I'm not taking off my boots when I go to bed, and I'm making sure to turn on the lantern before I turn off the main light. I was lying in bed for about 30 minutes when I heard it again. Someone is scratching. Rule 7. If you hear scratching, no matter where the sound is coming from, turn off all radios and hide under the covers until the sound stops. The scratching was quiet and sounded like it was happening somewhere on the stairs, if not at the very bottom near the outhouse where the food is stored. I immediately rush to the radio and turn it off. I check to see if my small radio is off and confirm that it is. I quickly return to my bed and hide under the covers. But the sound continues. It's getting louder, slow and drawn out, like the sound of a nail being dragged across a wooden board. After each scratch, there's about a 10-second silence. And then, someone scratches again, but now, it's closer than last time. Soon, I hear scratching right next to me, as if on my bed. I hold my breath and close my eyes. I'm not following any rules. I'm just so damn scared. The next rustle is longer than the others. It's either next to my bed or at the cabin door. I don't know. My mind is getting fuzzy, but I'm not going to move. The rustling stopped after about 15 minutes. I don't know how my heart survived that fear. All I can hear is the rustling of the trees below as the wind shakes the leaves and branches, creating an eerie sound right outside my cabin walls. I had already decided to stay in my hiding spot for the rest of the night, just in case, when I heard another sound. Quiet footsteps. Each quick step got louder. By the time I realized she was running up the stairs, I panicked and forgot the rules. Instinctively, I jumped out of bed and ran to the light switch. I flipped it on, and the sound immediately stopped. I froze, standing at the switch, expecting something to happen, but nothing did. Shaking, I went to the rules list I had on the nightstand. I picked it up and checked if I had done the right thing. Rule 5. At night, if you hear someone running up the stairs of your tower, turn on the main light and don't turn it off until morning. If you don't do so by the time she reaches the top, it will be too late. Thank God, I thought. I knew that the main light being on was part of most of the rules. I'm incredibly glad I did the right thing. I look around the balcony surrounding my tower. Nothing. I look at the top of the stairs, the end of which is now barely visible, but nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. Complete silence. About 2 hours have passed since something or someone tried to come up my stairs, and I'm definitely not sleeping tonight. So I decided to use this time wisely. I took out the map and began studying the area, memorizing all the routes near my tower so I would know them like the back of my hand. I also found the shortest route to the neighboring tower, which should take a minimum amount of time in case of an emergency escape. Although I still think I can trust Sarah, I still really want to meet her in person. I want to see her and talk normally, face to face, not through a radio. I decided that tomorrow, I will definitely go to Sarah's tower. I woke up early, having only slept for a few hours, but at least it was something. I'm actually too excited to pay attention to it. I packed my backpack, grabbed some food, water, a flashlight, a radio, my map, and my machete. I also took the camera to see if Sarah could confirm if the person in the photos was indeed Harvey. The sunlight is shining over the trees. I've never admired the sunrise here before, because I was either asleep at the time or scared to death and didn't care. But now I'm looking at all this beauty. It's beautiful. I decided not to tell Sarah I was coming. Although I trust her to some extent, I decided not to warn her in advance about my plans, just in case. I lace up my boots and head towards Sarah's tower. The walk should take about 3 hours, according to the map. The route is relatively straight, with not many steep climbs, ravines, or anything like that ahead. When I left my zone and entered Sarah's, I noticed a stark difference. The forest is divided into zones, and each lookout has their own zone with many routes and trails that the lookout is obligated to patrol and, if necessary, cut back overhanging branches and bushes. If you don't do this in a timely manner, the trails will simply become overgrown. However, when I crossed into Sarah's zone, I noticed that the trails were in very bad condition. To be honest, they looked like they were never maintained. I took out my machete and began to push forward, continuing to walk along the barely visible paths. It was tedious work, but I wanted to make sure the trails would be visible and easy to follow when I needed to go back. I was almost completely out of motivation and hungry when I reached her tower. Instead of 3 hours, the journey took me a full 5, all because of the work I had to do to clear the paths. However, I finally made it. The tower was exactly the same as mine, the same layout with the cabin on for stilts, hidden in a small clearing in the woods. Her outhouse was on the opposite side, but her food storage was in the same place as mine, just to the left of the base of the tower. However, there's one significant difference that I noticed right away. What the hell? The remnants of a massive fire pit, a campfire, about 50 yards from her tower, surrounded by rocks. It looked like someone had used it not long ago. Considering that our job is to prevent fires in the forest, that's a little strange, isn't it? I'm climbing the tower, stepping on the stairs as quietly and carefully as possible. This is partly because I don't want her to think it's the smiling woman running up her stairs, but mostly because I'm very nervous. Reaching the top, I realize there's no one in the cabin. In fact, it looks like no one has been here for a long time. There are old bird nests on the roof of the tower, cobwebs are tangled on the railings and in the corners, and dust is literally everywhere. I'm about to open the door, but it's locked. That's strange. My cabin doesn't have a lock. I look through the glass, squinting to make out anything through the thick layer of dust on the window. It's dark in there, even darker than it should be. I can see a large radio station on the table, next to a stack of old newspapers. The bed is a mess, unmade. A bag is peeking out from under the bed. I guess it's her backpack. From what I can see inside, there's nothing there that could occupy her during the day. No books, no radio, no magazines. How did she not go crazy here? I decided to contact her on the radio. I didn't come all this way to leave with nothing. I turn it on and say, "Sarah, come in." "Hey, hello. How are you doing, Alex?" A quick reply came. "Hey, what's up?" "I'm fine," I replied, deciding to figure things out a bit before letting her know I was nearby. I ask her, "Where are you right now?" "I'm at my tower." "Why?" She replies, "What the hell? I'm sure this is the right tower." It's her tower, damn it. I look inside, and there's no one there. She's just lying to me. Nothing special. Just checking in, I say, now lying myself, trying to hide my trembling voice behind a fake calm. "I just ran into some campers on the edge of my zone and decided to warn you. I'll handle them myself. I don't want to distract you." Silence. Did she buy it? Does she believe me? "Sarah, don't be silent. Answer me. Did you hear me? I just need to know." "Yes, Alex, I heard you. Just call me if you need anything." "Cool. It was very nice of you to check in on me." "Thanks for that." "Okay, talk to you later, Alex." "Thanks." I'm not sure she believed me. I decided to go down the tower and hide behind some nearby trees. I wanted to look around. Maybe she was just returning to the tower and was very close, which is why she said she was already there. This could just be a misunderstanding, so I'm going to figure out the situation and see what happens. More than 30 minutes have passed. It's actually completely quiet here. A deathly silence. No rustling animals, no birds singing, nothing. Just silence. While I was waiting, I told myself that if she didn't come back soon, I would just break into her cabin. I have no idea if that's legal or not. Technically, it's my employer's property. I assume it's still illegal, but I need to figure everything out and do it soon, before it gets dark. I hit the rusty lock with the handle of my machete. The loud bang breaks the eerie silence, followed by the creak of the door as it swings open, and I freeze for a second, expecting something to happen. Nothing. I go inside. Dust rises and gets in my nose. I barely manage to hold back a cough and a sneeze. I need to calm down and do everything quickly. It's pretty cold inside the cabin, much colder than outside. I walk over to a stack of newspapers. The headline immediately catches my eye and makes me shiver. "Hacker Sisters Missing." I quickly read the article. It mentions these woods. 2 sisters have gone missing. Could this be Sarah's sister? I thought. She just told me that her sister was missing. Was she the second sister? It doesn't make sense. I flip through the rest of the newspapers. Most of them repeat over and over again that the 2 sisters are still missing. Then, as I flip to the next newspaper, I see an article that says one of the sisters has been found after being missing for a long time. The article says that one of the sisters was found safe and sound, while the other is still missing. It said they got lost in the woods, and later one of the girls was found, but the other wasn't. Sarah didn't mention that she got lost too. If this is about her, she either considered it too personal or she was lying. I turn my attention to the items lying under the newspapers in a clear folder. Inside is a single sheet of paper. It's titled, "Alex. What the hell?" It then has information about me. I shared with her information about my divorce, why I got the job, and my age. Maybe she just keeps all this so she doesn't forget. That's crazy. Wait a minute. But how did she know such detailed information? We've never met. How does she know what I look like? Something is going on here that's really strange. I shift my attention to the bag under the bed. It's a large, dark blue backpack. I pull it out and open it. Inside are clothes. From what I can see, they're men's clothes, t-shirts, hiking pants, a raincoat. I dig deeper. I find a hammer, then a wrench. Nothing unusual. The next item I pull out is a pair of sunglasses. RS is engraved on the side. If those are someone's initials, they're definitely not Sarah's. Someone else's. I reach my hand to the bottom of the bag and feel a small metal object. I pull it out, and it's a pocket knife. A very good-looking, custom-made knife. It has a golden handle with a mix of wavy silver and black patterns running through it. It also has an inscription in small letters. "To my love, Harvey." What the hell? What is she doing with Harvey's knife? These are his things. So this is where his things went after he disappeared. I don't take anything, otherwise she'll know I was here, but I decided to leave quickly. I don't feel safe. As I get up to leave, I hear a familiar voice behind me. After I heard the voice behind me, I was literally shaking with fear and surprise, but I had nowhere to run. The only option was to jump out of the tower window, but that was clearly not an option for me. Gathering my courage, I slowly turned around and saw a girl standing in the doorway. She was a little shorter than me, with dirty, unwashed hair that was sticking out in all directions. She was wearing long, light brown hiking pants with dried mud stains on them. Her light red plaid shirt looked even more tattered. It was very wrinkled, dirty, and torn in several places. Her face was normal, or at least human, and that even calmed me down for the first few seconds of looking at her. However, then I saw her eyes. They were crazy, bright blue eyes, very adapted to the dark, with bloodshot whites. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. She was also very skinny. In short, she looked terrible. "And you must be Sarah?" I asked, almost stammering. "What do you mean by, all she wants is for you to smile? And who is she?" "She just wants you to smile," Sarah replied, looking at me with a crazy stare. "Okay, stop, Sarah. What's going on? Can you finally explain it to me? I'm almost losing my mind from all this nonsense that's happening here, and you're constantly talking in riddles. And are you okay? You look terrible, to be honest." Sarah silently walks toward the bed. I walk around her as she starts to move. Now, standing at the door. Good start, I think. She sits on the bed and looks at the dusty floor. I notice tears streaming down her face. "We got lost in the woods back then," Sarah swallowed. "The two of us were looking for a way back for weeks and tried to call for help, but with no success. I eventually saved myself." She didn't. I couldn't tell them what I did, but it was bad. Now, she fell silent. "What did you do? What did you do, Sarah?" I shout. "We were lost and couldn't find our way back for a very long time. She kept saying, 'Everything will be fine. They'll find us.' But nothing worked out. Then, silence. She suddenly lifted her head and looked up. I even jumped, but she continued to speak. She was looking at me with a smile when I pushed her. I pushed her far into a ravine. It was a moment of weakness, a moment of hunger. She fell. Her arms, they were probably broken. I was so hungry. I looked down. It was already dark, but I could see she wasn't moving. But on her face, she had a smile. She lived with a smile on her face and left with a smile. My insides tightened. Damn it. Did she take care of her own sister? Or is she out of her mind and talking nonsense? I thought. I've heard that hunger makes you do crazy things for food, but this is the first time I've heard of something like this. But after I pushed her, I couldn't do it, Sarah added, looking at me with the same crazy eyes. And the next day, they found me. Even though I was afraid of her, I felt some sympathy for Sarah. I looked at her, and I felt very sorry for her, really. But I didn't know what had really happened, and I didn't really understand what was going on or what to expect from her now. What if she went crazy from grief? And what then? My only means of communication is the radio, but Sarah is unlikely to let me use it. Run? Where to? I'm not 100 yards from the road, damn it, but in the deepest wilderness. And then she found me, Sarah whispered, looking at the floor, and another tear rolled down her cheek. Who found you? I asked, hoping it wasn't who I thought it was. My blood ran cold with anticipation. My sister. She was still smiling back then. She's getting revenge on me. She's getting revenge on you too, you damn idiots, she shouted. Sarah stood up and looked around, adding, and she's getting revenge on all of you. She's getting hungrier every time and is never completely satisfied. There's no way out. Now, for the first time, Sarah starts to smile. Alex, she's very hungry now. She lunges at me with a shriek, her arms outstretched. Fortunately, she's skinny, and I realize she's easy to overpower. I turn her to the side and push her away from me with a quick motion. She stumbles on the threshold, her foot slips off the stairs, and she loses her balance. I hear a loud wooden crash, and then she falls. Everything happens so fast. I heard her tumbling down the stairs, but she never even screamed once while falling. I'm afraid to look down. Damn, what have I done? Damn. I get up off the floor and go down the stairs, hoping she's alive. On the way down, I find a crumpled piece of paper lying on a step. I quickly pick it up and continue down. No time to get distracted. Reaching the ground, I look around but don't see Sarah. On the one hand, that's good. It means she's alive. On the other hand, Sarah, where are you? It was an accident. I didn't mean to push you, but you attacked me, and I was forced to resist. Where the hell are you? How could she have run away, or even walked away after such a fall? I can't stay here anymore. I need to get back to my tower as fast as I can before it gets completely dark. I want to pack all my things and get out of this forest, or I'll either go crazy or something even more terrible will happen to me. I'm running back to my tower, stopping only for a short time to catch my breath, and then running again. I have to get packed before dark, no matter what. Sarah is completely crazy. She attacked me, and I acted in self-defense. Even if I hurt her, I'm not guilty anyway. Wait a minute, she said Harvey wrote 10 rules on the sheet, but there were only 9 on the one I found in the cabin. What's the 10th rule? At that very moment, I remembered the piece of paper I had picked up on the stairs of Sarah's cabin. It must have fallen out of her pants. I took the crumpled piece of paper out of my pocket, unfolded it, and shuddered. Rule 10. Don't trust Sarah. She is not who she says she is. I'm still running back. My strength is almost gone, but I can't stop anymore. I don't hear anyone chasing me, but I definitely feel like someone is watching me. I can see my tower. It's almost dark. I don't know how I'm going to get to my car. I don't want to walk through the forest at night, and I'm physically unable to run anymore. So, decided I'd sleep in the bunker. It's definitely not safe to be in the tower right now. I guess that's where Harvey spent his nights when he wasn't in the cabin. I think that's the key to how he was able to hide in the woods for so long. Besides, the bunker has already saved my life once. I'll go up to the cabin, grab my backpack, and then go straight to the bunker. I also need to get some food and water. I'm already on the verge of passing out from dehydration. I finally reach my tower. I run up the stairs quickly and fly inside. I'm desperately grabbing my things and turning to leave when I suddenly start to hear something. The sound is faint and easy to miss, but it's there. I hold my breath and stop moving, listening. I hear a scratching sound from somewhere outside. Rule 7. If you hear any scratching, whether in the cabin or the outhouse, turn off all radios and hide under the covers until the scratching stops. But there's no point in following this rule, because she knows I'm trying to leave. I freeze, hoping the scratching will stop. I thought that if it didn't, I would have to follow the rules. The scratching stopped, but now, hear footsteps on the stairs. I feel fear paralyzing me. I'm afraid to move. The steps on the stairs are getting closer. The fear inside me screams that I need to follow the rules. But I'm tired of being afraid. I don't want to hide anymore. I want to end this nightmare, here and now. Damn. The lantern went out. I'm in complete darkness. I don't know where my flashlight is either. Maybe I dropped it somewhere on the way or left it at Sarah's tower. I'm in unspeakable terror. All I can hear are the footsteps and the pounding of my heart. And then I remember the old kerosene lamp that I found under the bed on my first day. I quickly rushed to the bed, pulled out the lamp, and with trembling hands, took matches from my pocket and lit it. A faint light enveloped a part of my cabin. Now, standing opposite the door, and I'm just waiting. I listen. The sound of footsteps paused for a couple of seconds, but then it resumed, now accompanied by the sound of scratching. The seconds of waiting felt like an eternity. The sound of footsteps was very close, and then it stopped. I realized that someone was standing outside the door. I froze. I could only make out a faint scratching on my door. The sound was so quiet that it was barely audible, but to my excited mind, it was like a siren wailing. At some point, the door creaked softly and slowly opened. Behind my threshold, I could make out the dark silhouette of a woman looking at me. I could feel her hungry gaze on me, a gaze that was both burning and chilling at the same time. In another second, I would just die of fear. "You should have followed those damn rules," my inner voice screamed. "Where are you going?" The woman suddenly asks me, taking a step into the cabin. My heart sank, and my knees buckled. Standing in front of me was Sarah. There wasn't a single emotion on her face, only her crazy, huge eyes staring at me from under her brow and bloody streaks in her hair. She must have gotten a head injury from the fall. All of this wouldn't have been so horrible if it weren't for the hunting knife that she was slowly scratching against the door jamb. I can't say a word. My whole body is seized with the cramp. "You seem to have some urgent business in the middle of the night, don't you?" Sarah continues in a monotonous voice, and takes another step toward me. "Sarah, I think you need help. There's clearly something wrong with you." I can help you, really. I don't wish you any harm. You seriously think I need help? And you're ready to help me? "Yes, of course," Sarah says. "I understand what you had to go through during this time. But when my sister and I really needed help, none of you were around. All of you didn't care about us. And now, you think you can change something? You know, I think you need help more now. But no one is going to help you, just like no one helped Harvey. Just like no one helped my sister back then in the woods. You're next. And the rules, were they your doing too?" I ask, bewildered. "Of course. It helped me drive you to the state where you would be just as afraid as my sister was. So you would be terrified of loneliness and the unknown. So you would experience what she experienced before she died. And then I found Harvey's rules and decided to play his game. And you thought they were protecting you. It's so much fun to watch you tremble under the blanket. Sarah, I understand that you're grieving for your sister's death, but you're the only one to blame for it. You killed her." "I didn't kill my sister. You all abandoned her." At that moment, she looked at me with her lifeless eyes, raised the knife, and lunged at me. My thoughts were jumbled. I instinctively jumped to the side and miraculously dodged the blade. My situation was made even more difficult by the fact that I had nothing in my hands but the kerosene lamp. Before I could fully turn around, I again saw the raised blade above my head. I twitched to the side again, but this time, she got me. The knife slid across my forearm. I felt a sharp pain in my arm. Sarah looked at my wound, smirked, and came at me again. That very moment, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that my back was to the exit of the cabin, and a saving thought flashed through my mind. I swung my good arm, which was holding the kerosene lamp, and threw the lamp right at that crazy woman's feet. The lamp shattered, and a fire flashed up in an instant. I realized this was my chance. I quickly turned around and tried to run out of the cabin. Once on the stairs, I slammed the door shut. Since it didn't have a lock, I just propped it shut with the stick that I had used to keep the door from opening in the wind. I'm in a panic, going down the stairs, and just running away from this cursed tower and into the deep woods, without stopping or resting. When my strength was completely gone, I collapsed onto the ground in the middle of the forest and lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes, it was already light outside. I tried to get up, but a sharp pain in my arm, which I had leaned on, put me back on the ground. I tried to get up again, and this time, I was successful. I looked around and realized I was sleeping on the trail that led to the bunker. I must have unconsciously chosen this direction because I considered the bunker to be a safe place. There was no one else around me. I looked at my wound. It wasn't deep, and there was dirt mixed with dried blood where the cut was. I tried to gather my thoughts. Sarah, the knife, the fire, the forest. Oh, damn it, the fire at the tower. I instinctively raised my head, looked around, and saw a column of smoke rising in the distance. Damn it, Sarah. I felt sorry for her. For some reason, I had to do something. I didn't want to go back to my tower. First, because I was afraid I'd see Sarah's body there, and second, because I was terribly thirsty and hungry, and all I had with me was the list with the 10th rule and some matches. My supply shed probably also burned down. and I don't have time to check that hunch. I feel myself getting weaker, so I decided to head to Sarah's tower. At least I could find some food and a radio there to call for help. The journey was difficult. For me, both the hunger and the wound took their toll. Although it was small, I still lost some blood. I walked, fell, lost consciousness, and then got up again and walked. I reached Sarah's tower after dark. I looked around, but I didn't notice anything strange. I'm very thirsty, and my strength is completely gone, so I immediately head to the supply shed. I walk up, and lucky for me, it's not locked. Sarah's shed was a little different from mine, by the way. It seemed bigger from the outside, and once inside, I understood why. After entering the main room, I turned on the light and saw that there was another door at the end of the room with the food. It was ajar, and behind it, I could only see a piece of a gray wall and a light that apparently turned on in all the rooms at once. To avoid any unnecessary surprises, I decided to check what was behind it. I slowly moved forward, walking quietly, trying not to make a sound. I carefully peek into the small room. Horror grips me. Behind the door was a small room, about 10 by 13 feet in size. It was a normal room, but on one of the walls, a large curtain was hung. It hung like a rug, covering the entire wall. The only piece of furniture in the room was an old, tattered mattress that lay in the opposite corner. Next to the mattress was a human skeleton, propped up against the wall. But the strangeness and horror of the scene weren't even in that, but in the fact that the skeleton was dressed in women's clothes, and the clothes were quite neat. It felt like they had been put on yesterday. It was a plain white t-shirt and standard blue jeans. A sudden wave of nausea rolled over me. I turned away. When the nausea passed, I looked at the horrific scene again and noticed that there were some papers on the mattress. I was curious, so I went into the room, walked up to the mattress, and began to look at them. The first thing that caught my eye was a small photograph. It showed two young girls. I looked closer. My God, I know one of them. It's Sarah, only younger, I thought. I flipped the photo over and saw the inscription, Susie and Alice, summer at the lake. Could this be Sarah's sister? I set the photograph aside and picked up a folded piece of paper. It was a medical record. Patient, Alice Hacker. Diagnosis, schizophrenia. Date of issue, a little over 2 years ago. That was right before she got the job at the tower. Oh my God, I thought, struggling to deal with the shock. I set the record aside and turned my attention to a small book lying next to the skeleton. Overcoming a wave of nausea, I took the book in my hands, opened it to the first page, and saw the inscription, Susie Hacker's diary. Do not read. Even though I don't like reading other people's diaries, I still quickly scanned the first page. Hello, dear diary. My name is Susie, and from now on, I'm going to share my deepest thoughts with you. Today, an unexpected turn happened in my life, and then I hear a quiet moan coming from somewhere I can't quite pinpoint. I froze and strained to listen, and the moan continued. I got up, turned toward the door, and at that moment, I realized the moan was coming from somewhere behind me. I slowly turned around, afraid to imagine what might be behind me. When I turned, I saw the curtain that I hadn't paid attention to before. I reached my hands through the curtain and felt something metal behind it. I carefully tore the curtain down, and indeed, behind it was an iron door, closed with a massive latch. The moans were coming from in there, and at that moment, I felt no fear, as if my intuition was telling me that there was nothing scary behind the door. I quickly pulled the latch, opened the heavy door a little, and peeked inside. It was an even smaller room than the one I was in, and on the ground lay a girl, a normal girl, and from the moans, I think she was still alive. As I got closer, I recognized her. It was Samantha, Mark's daughter. She was a little bruised, and there was a wound with dried blood on her head, but otherwise, she was fine. As it turned out later, Samantha had come to Alice's tower after me to deliver some essential supplies. When she didn't find Alice in the cabin, she decided to leave the supplies in the shed. She went inside, saw the human remains, and tried to run, but at that moment, she was hit on the head. Samantha managed to get a good look at the girl with the crazy eyes and the plaid shirt. I realized it was Alice. After that, Samantha woke up locked inside and was there until I found her. I managed to call for help on the radio and also contacted Mark. As it turned out, Samantha was indeed his daughter, and he had sent her to deliver supplies to the towers. A few hours later, an ambulance crew and police arrived. I told them everything that had happened. I'd had enough. Fortunately, I haven't been arrested yet. The inspector said that so far, there was no evidence of a crime. He explained that Alice hadn't been found, which wasn't surprising, since the tower had burned down completely. By the way, on the way back to town, I finally read Susie Hacker's diary. Hello, dear diary. My name is Susie, and from now on, I'm going to share my deepest thoughts with you. Today, an unexpected turn happened in my life. I met a guy, and he asked me out to the movies. Alice will be so jealous. Well, that's none of my business. But, hello, dear diary. Today, Alice and I are going to the woods for a walk. The weather is perfect, and I think we'll have a great time together. Hello, dear diary. We've been wandering in the woods for several hours and can't find our way back to the trail. Alice is starting to worry, and that's understandable. She's the older sister, she's responsible for me. But I think everything will be fine, and we'll get out of here. Dear diary, it's gotten dark. We haven't found the road, and now, we'll have to spend the night here. I'm so hungry. It's been several days now, and we haven't eaten or drank anything. We tried to catch some animals, but it didn't work. My head is spinning from hunger, but I believe they'll find us. Today I passed out. It must be from hunger. Alice will find a way out, and they'll definitely save us. Alice attacked me. She pushed me into a ravine. I think my arm and leg are broken. It hurts so much, and I can't move. I hope they find me. I'm alone. Alice threw me. I'm scared. I can't walk, and I'm so hungry. Help me.